been stuck in jail. Half the man, I'm so frustrated. What is it you say? Don't speak, just turn away. Despite all my pain and
Porch Talk. And now, here's your host, Shakey.
All right, welcome back again. Today I am very honored to have a gentleman out of Texas who is a researcher and has also had an encounter. And I'm going to let him get into his background because there's a lot of controversy evidently in the Bigfoot community about, you know, when you see things posted about Native American this, Native American that. Well, today we are going to hear from a Native American, Mr. Baldemar Galvan Jr. Baldemar, how the heck are you doing, brother?
I am doing very well, actually. I'm doing real good.
Good deal.
Yep.
Before we get to the beginning of your story, tell us your heritage.
My heritage is basically a band called the Panapaches, and we are originally from South Central Texas. We actually lived in the woods. We actually hunted and gathered. So that's all that we did. We basically lived in the woods, and they actually taught us. My ancestors taught us a lot of about the history about the woods. It just totally fascinating. And this one thing that they always told us was, to respect nature and respect the wildlife around it, and to be very familiarized with sounds, and to be very familiarized about footprints, and the way the animals live in the forest. And they always taught us to respect nature.
Now, all right. Well, let's start with your first encounter. What happened? What was your first dealing with this animal, or whatever you want to call it, with this creature?
Yeah. See, here I started to realize is that I am really stopping myself from calling Bigfoot the animal, and there's sometimes it's very hard to, and there's sometimes where I actually catch myself and call it the animal, and I stop and say, Bigfoot is really not an animal. It's more human than anything else. It walks on two legs just like we do. It's a very intelligent. And the other day, I came to realize that it's like a master of sound. From the tree knockings to the vocalizations that it makes, to the hitting of rocks that they actually do. And there was one thing that I actually noticed about it. When we were small, we would always hear it down the creeks, and we at first thought it was an animal that we actually called or a superstition called la lechuza. It's supposed to be it has the face of an old lady and the body of an owl, and they were saying if you whistle, if you're in the woods at night, if you whistle and it whistles back, that basically means that there's one there. And Bigfoot does the same thing. And then when I was small, we would actually hear whistling sounds. We would actually hear screaming sounds. We would actually hear like a lady being murdered in the woods. So we were always familiarized with this since I was small. We always traveled down these creeks, and we would find things out of the ordinary, and we just, thinking it was a buck rub or whatever. But later on when I got older, here in the past few years, I started to realize, hey, I'm thinking that this stuff that we've been finding when we were younger were actually evidence of Bigfoot.
Wow. Well, you had an encounter of some kind at one time, didn't you?
Yes, I did. What it turned out was I was in this area. I really can't mention the name where I was at, and it was in B County. And I was with another friend of mine in a pickup truck, and we were actually driving and down this sendero. Uh, we actually saw this thing standing on two legs, hunched over, solid black. It must have been like around 40 yards away, and looked at it, and the very first comes to mind is what is that? And but then your mind starts playing tricks on you. He goes, you just didn't see that. He goes, well, what is that? And I told a friend of mine, hey, back up the truck a little bit. And then so we backed up the truck a little bit, and we looked back to the direction where the sting was. Sucker was gone in a flash. So my train of thought was, hey, I want to see it again, whatever this thing is. It's going to go down this other sendero, which is basically a pipeline. And when I went down over there, I looked into both directions and nothing. And then, so when I came closer to the area where the sting was standing at, and sure enough, an odor hit me. It was a cross between a best way to describe it was a cross between rotten eggs and a wet dog. And I looked at a friend of mine, and we're like going, hey, he goes, what is that? What was that? He goes, you know what? And my friend goes, I've never seen anything like that before. I really can't tell you what that was. He goes, but it was standing there, wasn't it? He goes, yep, it was standing there. He goes, you saw exactly what I saw. I say, yep. He goes, but other than that, we just couldn't fit. And Bigfoot never came across our mind. And then we and it started bothering me. It bothered me for a couple of days. And then so I called around to some old ranchers and everything, and so he goes, the best person to contact is I'll mention his name on the radio. His name was Richard Robbie. And so I contacted Richard Robbie, and he comes up and he says, Mr. Galvan, he goes, I'll tell you, and I told him about my encounter, and he started to giggle. He goes, well, you should come to my office. We'll just sit down and have a little talk. And sure enough, I went to his office and sat down and talked, and explained to him what I saw. And then all of a sudden, this guy, Mr. Robbie, comes up. He goes, well, let me show you what I found. And it turned what he had photos of. He had a photo of a shelter that Bigfoot actually made. And the way it was constructed, it was freshly made. It was leaning across. It was leaning across a creek. It was more or less made. It was made like a lean-to. If anybody knows what a lean-to looks like, it was shaped just like a lean-to. And the house, Bigfoot actually put grass right between the logs. And right on the other side of this creek, he actually put sticks along that creek area. It looked like he used that to put his knees on it to drink water. And he was showing me all these pictures. And then he comes up. He goes, man. He goes, I know a lot of people that has a lot of stories about Bigfoot. He goes, really? He goes, well, he goes, I kind of wish we could get them together and tell some Bigfoot stories. And then so I said, you know what? He goes, let's have a meeting and let's meet and let's go check how many people will show up. And then all of a sudden, the first meeting, there was like 6 people that showed up about their encounters with Bigfoot when they actually saw it walk on the field. And one guy described it as like 8-9 feet tall, and it was walking real slow. And a friend of mine, his name was Felix, and he passed away a few weeks ago. And I believe it was his nephew or a relative of his. He calls him. He says, Felix, come here. He goes, what's that? And he's looking at it, And sure enough, he sees this thing walking down the field, and then all of a sudden he was swinging his arms, and then all of a sudden the animal stops and it looks right back at these at Felix and his cousin, and they started picking up speed. And Felix's exact words was the animal started taking off pretty fast, that it covered a quarter of a mile like it was nothing, and it jumped over a fence like it was nothing. So so that's how my group started down here. So there have been a lot of encounters down here where I even had a story about a bus driver, a school bus driver, dropping off kids, and stopped her school bus and actually saw something. First of all, she thought it was a deer, and she thought to herself, well, deer ain't black. And then all of a sudden she comes out, oh, that's a person. And and she comes up, goes, no, a person named Harry. And it jumped over one fence line like it's nothing, and then jumped over another fence line like it's nothing, and then went straight towards the creek. And then through sightings and everything like that, they've probably been between 10, 15 years, but my sighting was here maybe like around between 3 and 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you've also gained some attention with the media down there too, haven't you?
I have, to me, because down here, people don't talk about that much stuff down here, especially when it comes to Bigfoot or other magical creatures out here. And so they always kept to themselves. They always thought it was something dealing with black magic. And so a lot of people here are very superstitious. So and then all of a sudden the news team contacted me and wanted for me to have an interview. So what I did was, and then so I contacted the people who actually saw Bigfoot, and I set them down there and say, hey, the media just finished contacting me. Would y'all like to be in the news with me? Because I really don't want to do this by myself. Because it's better to have other eyewitnesses talk about it, and maybe more people could come out there and talk about it. Sure enough, and then the news team from Corpus Christi came out and actually did an article. Actually did a story about it, and from there, other newspapers started contacting me, and people from Houston, people from Victoria, and then I had an article of Texas Monthly that basically did a joke about it, and but other than that, it goes. But I had a whole bunch of positive response from other people, where they were thanking me very much because they actually had experiences on their own that nobody believed that they actually saw it, but they talked about it and they thought that they were insane or crazy. But there's some people that bothered them for over pretty close to 20, 30 years. And when this article in the paper came out, or in the newspaper articles started coming out, and the news stuff started coming out, then a lot more people started telling their story. And then I got contacted by a TV program, a show. It was called What on Earth from the BBC from England. Actually came down here and actually filmed a little bit about our sightings down here. And they actually sent me to a place in Blanco, Texas, where they thought that they found some Gigantopithecus footprints in the water, and they wanted me to identify it if it was Gigantopithecus or not. And sure enough, it turned out to be that it wasn't Gigantopithecus. It was more like a big old dinosaur tracks in the water. So this show should come out in like around December.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right.
Let's get a little bit into your research. I hate to be bouncing around like this, but let's get a little bit into your research. What are some of your research methods, and what are you getting from that, from what you're doing? What kind of results are you getting from it?
I rather, because people go into the woods to go find evidence, especially at night. And my method is just staying put, cooking some hot dogs or hamburgers over the grill, and just staying put and just listening for the animal or listening for Bigfoot to come. And once he's there, you'll know that it's there by the sounds it would make, uh, shattering sometimes, and it sounds like shattering of a squirrel or something, or you can actually hear it walking around. Um, but the thing is, again, he knows his place, and we just basically stay put. So there's sometimes that you're hearing whooping, but it's a real silent whoop, but you just have to hear it just right, and we always know that he's there. Um, and then we try to put trail cams up, but we always had no luck with it. Um, but the best thing to do is just have a recorders ready just in case that we hear something. Um, so that's for me, audio is basically the best thing, because there's sometimes that you could actually hear it walking, or you could actually hear it call, and you just have to catch it just right.
You brought up trail cams. Why do you think trail cams are not that effective? Why do you think there's so many trail cams in the United States in the woods? Why do you think that they're not getting caught on these trail cams?
Well, if you actually, again, you have to think like a Bigfoot. If you go into your feeder and you have a trail cam up, and then so the very first thing you're going to see is the retinas of your trail cam, and right then and there he knows that the camera is there. And people always put it 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet up in the air. And there is a scientist in the San Antonio that actually had excellent uh, um, footage of him messing with a camera, and he even went as far as it opening the camera, and he knows when the camera's on and he knows when the camera's off. There was actually evidence that he actually caught on these trail cam where there was a log on the ground, and apparently he was manipulating it, and then all of a sudden when the camera tripped or took off, then he went up there in front of the camera and put another stick over the log, and then sure enough made the camera take the picture, and then all of a sudden now you see something different on the trail cam showed a photo, and you could actually hear it banging on the see it banging on the camera. There was times when he just couldn't make the camera turn off, and he just got tired of it, and threw the stick, and you could actually see the stick go up in the air and land. He would always know where the cameras are at. So that's why the trail cams are not too effective. And we could find another method of maybe even putting two cameras back to back, one in the front and one in the back. Maybe that might work, because he always attacks the cameras from the back. There's sometimes that he even caught evidence of him staying real close to the camera, where you could actually see the shoulder of it snap the picture, but not actually of the whole body. And so that's why the trail cams are not too effective. If it could be maybe like around 10 feet, 12 feet up in the air, maybe there could be some effect. I just don't know.
Well, it's no secret that the animals can sense a trail cam or see them, because bears mess with them. It's guaranteed if there's a bear in the area, there's a bunch of pictures of bears messing with trail cameras. So there's something to a trail camera that animals can sense or see or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, even cattle. How many cattle have been caught on trail cam or licking it? That there's something dealing with the trail cam. They could have a camera where just a string and it trips it, and the camera takes a picture, that could be that could be something. But dealing with these trail cams, there's just something about that trail cam that they know that is on. It could possibly be like the dog whistles, and nobody could hear these whistles but these dogs. But there is something about the trail cam that does not work for Bigfoot.
Well, now
Yeah.
where you live in Texas, now pretty much anybody that knows Texas is infested with wild hogs. Now, are you finding any evidence that they're surviving off of those wild hogs as a food supply?
There's a lot of stories that they actually heard, was told about. They actually seen Bigfoot grab the pigs and by his hind legs and then hitting them on tree stumps, just like we would do to a live rabbit. And they would there's even an eyewitness that actually saw Bigfoot hiding around trees and catching a wild pig by the hindquarters and actually beating it so severely that he actually could hear it breaking the ribs to the pigs. The wild pig is a big food supply for these animals here, for Bigfoot down here. But now here's another thing. There's actually ranchers that are actually starting to poison these feral hogs. And my concern was that at the time that if these poison that if Bigfoot gets a hold of one of these poison wild hogs, what effect could it do to it?
Well, you got to wonder because once that animal dies, then vultures are going to eat on it also, or any other animal's going to eat on it. So it would have to be some kind of poison that wouldn't last very long. You understand what I'm saying? It would have to kill that pig and then be out of its system or just disintegrate or whatever quickly before it would hurt the environment or any other animal.
See, but that's where because that's when when the animals know. Because the thing is that the animals know when another animal is poisoned. Because there's some times that you could find corpse of a horse or a cow that has been poisoned, that not even the buzzards get on them and eat. So the animals know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
the thing is, if you, that's the thing is that I've been around these woods since I was 5 years old, knee high to a grasshopper. And there's certain things that there's a lot of mysteries that you have to solve on your own. Why aren't they eating these things? Even animals that are sick. There's some animals that won't eat it because they don't want to get sick, because they know. When we would find animals like that dead, they told us burn it. Start burning because this animal was sick. So that's the way that we were taught when we were small. So if we see something like that out of the ordinary or something that's just not right, they always told us for us to burn it.
Yeah, right. Now in Texas, I know you have rattlesnakes like I have here in West Virginia, just different types of rattlesnakes. We just have the timber, but y'all have diamondbacks down there. And what other poisonous snakes are in your area?
We got coral snakes. We got rattlesnakes. Those are the only two that I know, and I believe there's some copperheads as well.
Okay.
Water moccasin. Yeah.
All right. Now, do you believe that they have some immunity to these snakes?
I believe that they do. There's some times that they even seen a long time ago when they actually did that footage about Bobby Creek, that they found those the Bigfoot with 3 toes on it. So they could possibly lost a toe by a snake bite, or even lost it by a trap. but I'm pretty sure because I'm pretty sure that would be immune to something like that.
I mean, it's not unheard of. A possum. A possum is immune to a poisonous snake. So, it's nature. That's how nature works.
Right.
What other predators are in Texas that the Bigfoot would have to worry about?
What other thing would they have to worry about?
Well, at least maybe a smaller one would.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's start off with the mesquite. The mesquite trees have a lot of thorns on it, which the tips are very poisonous. They're poisonous, so they're basically, you could actually die from an infection from a thorn to mesquite. Let's see what else. Other than that, like you were saying, snakes. There's a lot of scorpions out here, but I'm pretty sure that we get bitten by scorpions and we're immune to that. There's even spiders, even like black widow spiders, and I'm pretty sure that they encounter some of that as well. But it would have to be Bigfoot has to be some kind of human that basically would fight against infections like that. I could just imagine them getting sick or having cancer or there's something that I haven't heard anybody talk about. Then having some kind of disease like that, or having kidney problems, or because we just don't know.
Yeah, that's the key word, right? That's exactly what you said. We don't know. That's the thing. It's a heck of a thing, And there's a lot of different things out there that don't have issues. Sharks don't get cancer.
In town right now, right now I'm in town, and the coyotes are going crazy on the field next door.
Really?
So, yeah.
Now, do you think that they used? Do you think they? I've heard rumors that people sometimes think they use coyotes. Do you think the coyotes and the Bigfoot work together, or do you think they use them as a food?
Well, I believe that they could use them as food because they eat dogs. That they also use them as a gathering of because coyotes make certain sounds when they're in a pack, when they're hunting something. The coyote makes certain sounds, and when they kill something, they make a certain sound. And I believe that Bigfoot knows these certain sounds, and if he's hungry enough, and he'll go out there and actually run these coyotes off to get whatever it killed.
Oh, I got you. Right. Yeah. He would let the coyotes do the work for him, and then chase them off and take their meal from them.
Right.
I got you. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, do you all have mountain lions?
The mountain lions. There's plenty of them here. Also, too, their kills that they actually do with deer can actually affect other people from saying, this is Bigfoot. Because they have actually found deer that actually been carried on top of oak trees. And that you could tell it was that it was a cat kill, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's a Bigfoot kill. No, it's not, because the thing is, again, but first of all, what you look for is trap, and then after that, you look for hair, and then and then if they have hair like the mountain lion, then you'll know that it was a mountain lion that actually killed this deer. So.
Well,
yeah.
Well, now with your heritage, has Bigfoot always, has it been a spiritual creature or how has it been? How is it perceived in the Apache legends? Is it a spiritual creature? Is it a demonic creature, or is it a friendly creature? How is it perceived?
I mean, different people see it different ways. I mean, it's like it's like at night, it's at night. We were taught as small kids not to go out at night. Don't go down the creek at night. Don't do, because that's basically because at night that's when the spirits come out. Because 12 o'clock midnight, that's when they actually start coming out. And we're never supposed to be in the woods past dark. And that was, and I had been taught this as I was small. Even hunting, even when we go hunting, we never go past dark. If we kill something, then we'll come up there and we'll skin it and do that at night. But it's an area that's real close to the house. Somewhere where it's fenced up and stuff. But they always told us never to go, into the woods at night. Even there were some legends of Apaches not going hunting at night or going to war at night, because it was very sacred to the Apache, and it's actually been sacred to a lot of tribes. And the Bigfoot has always been a spiritual animal, and that's why they put it on their totem poles. So that's why they draw it on rocks, because that was a sacred animal to them.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Wow.
Mm-hmm. See, and also too, and also too, it's that they actually make the houses that they actually make are basically part of just like looking at a Native American house by the way that they make it. Even when we go down in the woods, we go down over there and we break branches off also, like that we won't lose our way. Like that we'll know how far we are away, or if we're close to an area or to our campsite, whatever. We always mark it. So like that we'll know exactly when to come back. Without those markers, we'll be lost.
Yeah, okay, so there's I've seen a lot of pictures of bent trees, and they say were markers from way back when. So you believe that Bigfoot actually marked their ways too, like that?
Sometimes, I believe that they do. But down out, do you know the expression of? Have you heard the expression of skinning a cat?
Oh yeah.
Do you know what that is?
I've heard there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
But, when you climb a tree and the tree bends over and you fall down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's what when we were in Virginia, they go, hey, let's go skin a cat. He goes, let's go skin some cats. I'm going, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, let's go skin some cats. He goes, I'll show you. And sure enough, here comes a friend of mine on top of this, climbing this tree. And all of a sudden, here comes this arc coming over the tree. And just bringing this down. And I wouldn't be too surprised if they have a young one, doing that. To maybe that's a game to them, because there's a lot of what ifs, and but there's actually have been situations where where people actually climb these trees and they just stay down, but there's no telling what Bigfoot does with these. To me, an art like that would be a marker for me.
Yeah, definitely. You so you get a lot of reports down there.
Oh yeah.
What do you?
I have reports. I have reports all the way. If I could put a marker in the middle of B County, and I would say it would be pretty close to like around a 60 mile radius of all the encounters that people have actually had with Bigfoot. There's a place called Swinney Switch down over here where a lady actually saw it when they were actually shaking the ground to find oil, and she actually saw it twice, and her daughter actually had a close encounter with it. And I've been trying to get a hold of them, and like that they could tell me their story, and I never could get with this lady. So, but the stories are there. It's just having the people have the courage to go out there and just tell their story. So the more that is on the news, the more is in the newspaper, the more people have the courage to come up there and tell their encounter, the more people will come out.
And you record everything, don't you? Not like voice record, but you write down on a calendar everything, right? You keep track
Right,
of everything.
right, right.
And how does that work
Because
out?
it actually works out pretty good because that's when I know that's when I know, hey, it's gone here for a little while. I'm expecting to come back in this certain day and time, this certain month, and it basically never fails. If you hear a whooping sound or a knocking sound, whatever, just the month, day, year, time, and then so just write it down. And then so next year, the day, time, whatever, and then it may not happen that day, or it could probably you could probably hear something that month, knowing, hey, it's back.
So have you found any patterns?
I've actually found some patterns because ours disappear for a good 3-4 months. It there's sometimes it even disappeared for half a year, and then sure enough, it always comes back during deer season. In the month of September or October, that's when it normally came back, and it just came back in this month of October. So he was just right on time when he came back.
So yours come around. See, here they disappear during deer season when everybody goes in the woods, but yours seem to. You say yours comes back during deer season. I guess that's dinner time for
Well,
them.
exactly. But the thing is, again, I'm thinking that he still hangs around during deer season, basically in the, maybe y'all's area as well. Because let's say, for example, if y'all hit a deer, y'all wound a deer, and y'all just can't find it, and you find the blood stains that are like, this deer's around here somewhere because there's so much blood that this animal had, and you could actually saw where it was laying down, and then after that, no blood. Then you'll find no blood.
Yeah.
So that's when the Bigfoot has his free meal.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Alaska. When you go hunting in Alaska, when you shoot, you better get what you shot, or else you're gonna get ate because the bears come running. That's like a dinner bell up there.
Right. Right. Yeah, but down here we have no bear, and there's actually a season for bear here, but we never seen any bear.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
Got a bear season and no bear.
Hmm.
Oh man.
And then so that's what makes it, so mysterious because somebody have actually seen something that's black, and oh, that's a bear because Bigfoot down here walks on four legs. I mean, on fours as well. And if somebody sees something like that in the 50s or 60s or 30s or 40s, and they decided to make a season for it, and apparently that is not what they thought that it's not. They didn't think exactly what this was. So,
You just jogged my memory right there when you said the 30s and 40s. Let's talk about the history down there. How is the history of Bigfoot? How far back does it go, or do you know of any stories from back in the history of it down there?
the oldest story that I got was a story that actually happened to two old cowboys, and they were called vaqueros, and they were out there in this little house, and way in the woods, and so they were working cattle. And what it was this little boy. He was maybe like around 8, and it was his father and his grandfather and this other cowhand that was there, and they stayed out there smoking cigarettes and playing cards. and he heard some knocking, real powerful knocking on a house, and the very first thing came to mind was, is some a cow hitting it or a horse hitting it, hitting the house. But it was so hard that dust started coming out from the street. And this house was maybe like around, the boards was maybe like around like a 1 by 12. It's a poorly made house, but it did the job. And it had a window, and the window opened up where you could actually stick a stick in it. And that's the way that they kept cool in that house. And what they had for light was a old lantern. And sure enough, the noise stopped, and so they decided to go to bed. And then, sure enough, they heard that banging sound again. So they went up and they lit that lantern. And when they lit that lantern, Bigfoot sticks his whole head into this window. And so the man described the eyes, how big the eyes were, and how big the mouth was, and it just made a "whoo" sound, and stuck his whole head back out of the window and took off. And and then these guys were terrified. So they were in the house maybe for around 20 minutes inside the house, like that they could finally get the courage for them to go outside to see what this thing was. And the only thing that they had was a single shot 22 and this lantern. And they went outside and checked if they could see something, but they never saw nothing. So that little boy turned out to be a friend of mine's father. And so this happened in between 1924 and 1925, and the same area in B County. So the animal has been here in B County for a very long time. So that's one of the oldest stories that I got, and then the old, I have stories from like 50 years ago, 60 years ago, but there was a few kids. They just finished buying some coon dogs, and they bought them for like $35 each. In the 1960s, $35 was a lot of money. So they got these coon dogs, and they started going down the Medio Creek. And then all of a sudden, they encountered the creature down there, and then they heard the animal run and jump in the creek and start taking off. And so they got their lantern and they started going down to the creek, and all they hear in the saw was down this creek was these rippling sounds. I mean, how the animal went on the creek, and all you see the rippling sounds from the water, and freaked them out. And so these dogs were underneath these guys' legs, and they were so terrified. So they took off. So the next day, they're in school and they're telling their friends what happened to them down this creek. And one of the friends go, I don't believe y'all. Y'all making stories up. Because hey, I tell you what, we don't want to go coon hunting tonight. He goes, but I tell you what, you gonna come with us? He goes, you just never know. It might come out again. And they went down to the same location. And sure enough, it happened again. Exactly what happened to them that night before. And sure enough, they heard that thing running and heard it yelling and going to the creek, and starts taking off. And so these teenagers got terrified, and they started going over the barbed wire fence like that they go back home. And one of the kids' trousers got caught in the barbed wire fence, and so they finally got him loose, and they took off to the house. Now, when these kids are now on their 60s and 70s right now, so the two kids, which are now 60 and 70, tell their encounter. But the kid that actually got his trousers caught said it never happened.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You talking about that one, the first story where it stuck its head in that window. You ever heard that expression, shit the bed? Yeah, well, that'd have been me if it had done that.
Yeah.
Man.
See, the thing is, again, because people here, we have been raised with so many folklore stories and everything like that, and the main one here is the lechuza. And but when something like that happens, and the very first thing that comes to their minds is demonic. Oh my God, it happened to us, and who's going to believe us? There's a devil out there. And the thing is, again, it's actually not. It's a creature that has been in these woods for hundreds of years, and people are just now starting to talk about it, and just now because I'm thinking that they actually seen it before, but they just don't actually know what it was. So
how are the elders about talking about it?
Some of them talk about it, and some of them don't. You just have to catch them in the right moment and the right time. But elders, what I'm talking about is not native elders, but I'm talking about old cowboys, old vaqueros that have been around for so many years, and they actually did their cattle drives on horseback, and camped out at night with these cattle, and actually had experiences at night when they were watering the cattle. But the sad thing about it, it goes, they were saying, I kind of wish that this old man was alive, and he had a lot of Bigfoot stories. But he's long and gone. He goes, have you heard any of them? He goes, I remember one time that he told me that he was actually mending fences, and they actually sent him to do a water gap, and then so when he was fixing the fence, he felt something staring at him, and in Spanish we call it ligando, and he was so uncomfortable mending fences, and because he never had that experience before. And where he would actually stop a job because he was so terrified, because something about what happened, about the feeding that he got. So he decided to walk home. And so when he came back, and his boss was telling him, he goes, why didn't you mend these fences or fix his water gap like I asked you to do? He goes, well, because there was something here. And so when they were looking around the area, and they actually found a footprint in the sand. So,
wow.
And so that was one of the stories. But you're talking like 50s and 60s, 50, 60 years ago.
Wow.
And he was possibly like in his 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. Mm.
See, because there's also because there's so many tribes out there. It's like I would hear people talk about the Cherokee that they actually saw it, and then the native people contacted them, and but there's sometimes too is if some of the tribes like to keep that into that's why that's why they're so private, because that's very private to them, and that's why they don't like people going into their reservations or going to their lands and looking for it, basically. And then now there's actually some tribes that actually are letting outsiders in because the occurrence have been so frequent. So it goes, if you want to actually see it, come down over here, because this is when it comes out. So, but there's some tribes that are actually letting people in.
Wow.
So,
They may want to take advantage of that if they can get a chance to get in there and do some research.
yeah.
Well,
See, the thing is, again, it's like it's basically respecting the land and respecting the people and respecting their traditions. And if they tell you no, or they'll tell you and they don't want to talk about it, you just have to respect their wishes and not hound them every single day or every month or every year. When they're ready for people to go in, then they would go in. So.
Yeah, Respect goes a long way, and then unfortunately, we've lost a lot of respect in this country.
Hmm.
What do you see coming along in your future here? What are you going to be up to here soon?
What am I going to be up to soon, or what do I think that the Bigfoot community will be soon?
Well, you can go either way with that. What are you going to be up to, and what do you see the Bigfoot community doing?
I see. There's some times that I see a lot of mistakes that people do. I think that it's just like hunting. It's if you're going for deer and stuff like that, people leave too much scent into the woods, or leave trash into the woods, or leave a lot of stuff like that into the woods. And I'm thinking that would actually scare Bigfoot away than actually lure it in. I think that if people would, just respect the nature, and just not heat up an area where people normally see it, maybe it could be seen more. Because there's too many people out in the woods actually looking for it, instead of sitting down there, staying put, and having having Bigfoot come to you. And then because this will be a time when a Bigfoot is ready for him to come out like that, you could actually see it. Because I've always said it's just like winning a lottery. Because he'll come out when he's good and ready for him to expose himself to you. But there's some people that want to see it now, want to see it today, want to see it tomorrow. And I'm thinking that their eagerness is basically killing their chances of actually seeing one, or actually hearing one. Here in the near future, I believe that once technology starts, let's say, for example, they could put a chip on a telescope, or a chip on a hunting scope, where for people who have actually been hunting, who actually seen it, they could just snap a picture like that, or even just having their cell phones handy, and when they're out there hunting, or bringing a recorder while they're out there hunting deer, or whatever that they're hunting, because you just never know when it's going to come out.
What about your research? What do you got coming up with your research?
Here, what I'm hoping for is that they actually did a story this week on the paper. I haven't seen it yet, in Heavenville, Texas, and they interviewed myself and my fiance, and the story should have came out already, but I'm just waiting for a copy of the paper to come out. And what I'm trying to do now is trying to get another TV spot where I could actually bring the scientists from San Antonio to B County, and like that they could actually bring his evidence down here, like that he could actually show the people, hey, here, this is the evidence that we have, like that. Here's the evidence that I have to prove to you that this animal does exist, or Bigfoot does exist. From handprints to vocalizations to footprints with thermal ridges on the bottom, because you can't fake that. If that was one of my things, and trying to contact other counties, like Mathis area, that's pretty close to B County, that actually has a big lake there, and contacting areas like Three Rivers that actually have rivers running through it, where it would be an excellent going place for Bigfoot, and having people actually tell their stories on these areas that are real close to the water line, and to see if I could get story. And I don't care if there's 50-year-old stories. I don't care if it's 100-year-old stories, or something that to give me a time frame when it was there, like that I could actually put mine together to try to get moving pattern.
Very good. Now, if somebody wanted to follow you or to look you up or whatever, how can they go about doing that? I know you have a Facebook page of your own, but do you have any group of viewers or what?
What we normally do is we meet once a month, and every month, I hear different stories. Every month I hear different stories, or I try to bring like the scientists, actually came up here and approached us and wanted to come to one of our meetings, and they wanted to see a cast that I had. And so it's more the people willing, and especially like scientists and other researchers wanting to come down here to to actually see and hear what we actually got going on here. The structure that Mr. Robbie has dealing with that Bigfoot house is just the holy grail of Bigfoot hunting or Bigfoot research. Is something that the animal made, but he'll show it to you, but he won't have you photograph it. He won't have you do anything. It's strictly his. But just seeing it is just brings chills up your spine. So.
Well, that's great. All right, well, Baldemar, I can't thank you enough for talking to me this evening. I really can't. I don't want to hold you up all night, but I do want to have you come back in a few months and do an update and see if anything's changed or what's going on.
Sounds good. Sounds good. What I'm hoping to do for next time when I see you, and talk to you later on, and what I would like to do is start doing my little trips down the creek and seeing, because there's one area that I have to contact the landowner, and is an area where I actually had my encounter at, but it's actually the opposite side of it. And where this creek is massive, and people, a lot of the old timers actually talked about, in Spanish, a cueva is basically a cave, and there's one down there, and that we have not found yet. And I'm hoping that hopefully that I could contact this landowner, and gives me permission to go there and see what I find. So.
That's great, man. That's all. I hope to get down there by next year. I really want to get down and visit you and do a little squatching.
Sounds good.
A little hog hunting, do a little So.
Yep.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I appreciate everybody listening to the show. Once again, support your local non-kill animal shelters and your local pet rescues and the humane societies. Support the no-kill ones. Try to get these pets some good homes, and adopt one if you got a good home and want a good pet. And I don't think I have really any announcements other than that tonight. Other than check out Shakey's Porch Talk podcast YouTube show on YouTube, on Facebook. And if you're on YouTube watching this on Shakey's Porch Talks channel, please like, subscribe, and share it. If you're watching this on Bigtruth, my producer's channel, please like, subscribe, and share it. Support both channels if you can. And I want to thank everybody once again, and God bless you all. You'll have a great night.